Look, I get family. But from day one, it was brother, brother, brother. When my dream job finally materialized, they expected me to ditch it all to wipe his butt? Nope. I chose chaos. I chose to spill all the tea at Thanksgiving. And honey, the gravy train derailed spectacularly. Okay, so buckle up, buttercups, because this is a wild ride through Dysfunction Junction. Population, my immediate family, and yours truly, the unwilling conductor who finally decided to pull the emergency brake. From the moment I graced this earth, screaming probably, it was abundantly clear who the golden child was. Spoiler alert, it wasn't me. It was my brother, Ethan. Ethan, who could do no wrong. Ethan, whose farts smelled like roses and whose every whim was treated as gospel. I'm not even exaggerating. Growing up, it was like living in some bizarre alternate reality where the laws of physics bent around Ethan. If Ethan got a B on a test, he was a misunderstood genius thwarted by a harsh grading system. If I got an A, it was expected, practically my baseline. If Ethan broke a lamp playing baseball inside the house, it was a spirited display of boyhood exuberance. If I, God forbid, left a glass of water on a coasterless table, I'd be lectured for an hour about respecting household surfaces. You get the picture. It was subtle, insidious, and omnipresent, like the faint hum of the refrigerator that you only notice when it stops. But I noticed. Oh, honey, did I notice? Thanksgiving, Christmas, birthdays? Forget about it. Gift disparity was an Olympic sport in our house. Ethan would get a mountain of presents, each thoughtfully curated to his exact specifications. I'd get, well, serviceable things. Practical things. Things that screamed, "We considered your basic needs, now shut up." One year for my 10th birthday, I received a set of organizational bins. Ethan, on his 8th birthday, got a freaking electric guitar and a mini amplifier. To this day, he can't play a single chord. The guitar is probably gathering dust in their attic, a monument to parental favoritism. Don't get me wrong, I love Ethan, or I want to love Ethan. He's my brother, but growing up under that kind of skewed dynamic messes with you. It's like trying to run a race with ankle weights while everyone else is on a treadmill set to leisurely stroll. It breeds resentment. It breeds, well, a whole host of complicated feelings that I'm probably still unpacking in therapy. And Ethan? He, bless his oblivious heart, just lapped it up. He became entitled. Utterly, magnificently entitled. Why wouldn't he be? The world had always catered to him. Mom and Dad had built his throne, gilded it in parental adoration, and installed him as supreme ruler of our little family kingdom. Fast forward to my adult life. I busted my ass in college, worked 2 jobs to pay for it, graduated with honors, and landed a dream gig right out of the gate. I'm talking dream. The kind of job people claw their way up the corporate ladder for years to reach. It was in my field, it was challenging, it paid well, and it was in a city I'd always dreamed of living in. I was ecstatic. Over the moon. Ready to pop champagne and dance on tables. I called my parents to share the good news, expecting, I don't know, maybe a modicum of pride. "Hey, good job, kiddo." A pat on the back, even a metaphorical one. What I got was, well, it was something else entirely. "That's nice, honey," my mom said, her tone flat as a pancake. "But we have something we need to talk to you about." Cue the ominous music. I knew instinctively that something we need to talk to you about was code for something Ethan screwed up and we need you to fix. And bingo. Turns out Ethan had had a setback, a crisis of confidence, a minor blip on the radar of life, which, in parental euphemism, translated to, Ethan had done something monumentally stupid entirely of his own making and was now reaping the consequences. Apparently, Mr. Golden Child had decided that responsibility was for suckers. He'd quit his perfectly decent job on a whim, decided to find himself, I rolled so hard I almost saw my brain, and proceeded to, well, not find himself. Instead, he'd managed to get himself into a situation that required care. Long-term care. The specifics are murky, and frankly, I don't really want to know. Let's just say it involved poor choices, questionable substances, and a distinct lack of foresight. "So," my mom continued, her voice taking on that patented guilt trip lilt, "Ethan needs help. He needs someone to look after him for a while, to get him back on his feet." And in my naivete, I actually asked, "Well, what about you and Dad?" Silence. A beat of pure, unadulterated silence. The kind of silence that speaks volumes, screams volumes, in fact. Then my dad chimed in, his voice gruff, impatient. "Don't be ridiculous. We can't just drop everything. We have commitments. Commitments, apparently, that were far more important than, parenting. But I just got this job, I stammered, feeling the excitement drain out of me like air from a punctured tire. This is everything I've worked for. Honey, my mom sighed, a long-suffering sigh that implied I was personally responsible for all the world's woes. Family comes first. Ethan needs you. He's your brother. Ah, yes, family. That magical word that parents use to justify all manner of manipulative bullshit. Family. The conveniently selective concept that only seemed to apply when it benefited Ethan. But why me? I asked, the question hanging heavy in the air. Why do I have to give up everything? Why can't Ethan, I don't know, take responsibility for his own actions? Don't be selfish, my dad snapped. Your brother is going through a difficult time. This is about compassion, about helping someone in need. Compassion. Right, compassion apparently only flowed in one direction in our family. Upstream, towards the golden child, never downstream, towards me. Towards the kid who always did everything right, who never caused trouble, who consistently got sidelined in favor of her brother's latest drama. So let me get this straight, I said, my voice dangerously calm. You want me to decline my dream job, the job I've been working towards for years, to, what? Become Ethan's full-time caretaker because he messed up his life. It's not forever, darling, my mom cooed, that sickeningly sweet tone that always preceded some particularly egregious parental demand. Just until he's back on his feet. A few months, maybe 6, it will fly by. 6 months. 6 months of putting my life on hold. 6 months of watching my dream job evaporate. 6 months of wiping Ethan's proverbial, well, you get the picture. All because he couldn't handle his life, and my parents in their infinite wisdom decided that I was the solution. The convenient, expendable, always reliable solution. Something snapped in me. Years of simmering resentment, of swallowed slights, of being consistently second best, it all coalesced into a single burning ember of defiance. No, I said, the word surprisingly firm, surprisingly solid. No, I won't do it. Silence again. But this time, it was different. This time, it was the silence of stunned disbelief. The silence that precedes a Category 5 parental meltdown. What did you say? My dad practically roared through the phone. I said no, I repeated, my voice gaining strength with each word. I am not giving up my job. I am not putting my life on hold to clean up Ethan's messes. He made his choices. He can live with the consequences. You are being unbelievably selfish, my mom shrieked, her voice cracking with indignation. Your own brother needs you. And I need my career, I shot back, the words tumbling out of me, years of pent-up frustration finally finding an outlet. I need my life. And for once, just once, I'm going to put myself first. The ensuing argument was epic. Yelling, accusations, guilt trips laid on thick enough to pave a driveway. They pulled out all the stops. How could you be so heartless? Family is the most important thing. We're so disappointed in you. But for the first time in my life, I stood my ground. I didn't back down. I didn't apologize. I didn't cave. I just kept repeating, no, I'm not doing it. Ethan is not my responsibility. Eventually they hung up on me, sputtering with outrage and wounded parental pride. I hung up too, my hands shaking, my heart pounding, but, strangely, exhilarated. It was like I'd just run a marathon of emotional endurance, and somehow, I'd won. Of course that wasn't the end of it. Oh no, honey, this was just Act 1. Act 2 was Thanksgiving. Every year my family has a massive Thanksgiving dinner. Extended family, the whole shebang. Aunt Mildred with her questionable casseroles, Uncle Barry with his even more questionable jokes, cousins I barely recognized, all crammed into my parents' house for a day of forced cheer and passive-aggressive commentary. Usually, I dreaded Thanksgiving. Being back in the parental orbit, surrounded by the suffocating weight of family expectations and unspoken judgments, it was always a trial. But this year, I was, dare I say, looking forward to it. In a twisted, morbidly curious kind of way. I knew the Ethan situation would be the elephant in the room, a large, trumpeting, judgmentally staring elephant. And I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that I would be the one everyone blamed. The heartless, selfish daughter who abandoned her brother in his time of need. I was right. The moment I walked in the door, the atmosphere shifted. It was like the temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. My parents greeted me with brittle smiles and eyes that radiated disappointment and thinly veiled resentment. Ethan was conspicuously absent, holed up in his room, presumably being coddled and pitied. The concerned whispers started almost immediately. Aunt Mildred cornered me by the cranberry sauce, her voice a low, conspiratorial hiss. "Such a shame about Ethan, dear. Such a sensitive soul. And you, off gallivanting in the big city. Family should stick together, you know." Uncle Barry predictably chimed in with a joke that was less joke and more thinly veiled accusation. "So, career girl, too busy for family now? Here you're climbing the corporate ladder while your brother is, well, you know." He winked, a greasy, judgmental wink. I plastered on a smile and deflected as best I could, grabbing a plate of mashed potatoes and strategically positioning myself as far away from the judgmental peanut gallery as humanly possible. But my parents were relentless. They kept sending pointed glances my way, sighing dramatically, and making loaded comments about the importance of family and the sacrifices we make for loved ones. It was a masterclass in passive-aggressive manipulation, and I was, admittedly, starting to feel the pressure, the guilt, the familiar, insidious tug of, maybe they're right, maybe I am being selfish. But then I looked around the room. I saw my parents, radiating martyr-like disapproval. I saw Aunt Mildred, her face a mask of sanctimonious pity. I saw Uncle Barry, smirking like he'd just won some sort of moral victory. And I saw Ethan, emerging from his self-imposed exile, looking pale, pathetic, and utterly entitled. And something inside me just snapped. Again. But this time it wasn't defiance, it was clarity. A sudden, blinding flash of enough is enough. I put down my plate, took a deep breath, and did something I'd never done in my life. I spoke, really spoke, not in a quiet, polite, people-pleasing way, but in a loud, clear, unapologetic way. "Okay, everyone," I said, my voice cutting through the polite Thanksgiving chatter. The room went silent. All eyes turned to me. Even Ethan looked up, his pathetic puppy dog eyes widening in surprise. "Since we're all here, and since we're all apparently so concerned about family," I continued, my voice surprisingly steady, "I think it's time we had a little family meeting about family dynamics and maybe, just maybe, about a little thing called favoritism." You could have heard a pin drop. My parents' faces went white. Aunt Mildred actually choked on her cranberry sauce. Uncle Barry's smirk vanished like smoke in the wind. Even Ethan straightened up, suddenly alert. What are you talking about?" my mom stammered, her voice trembling slightly. "Oh, Mom, Dad, you know exactly what I'm talking about," I said, my gaze sweeping across the room, catching each and every family member in my line of sight. "We're talking about Ethan. And we're talking about how, in this family, Ethan has always been the priority, the golden child, the one who can do no wrong." I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I just spoke, calmly, clearly, and with a level of icy detachment that I didn't even know I possessed. And as I spoke, the words just flowed. Years of observations, of buried hurts, of carefully suppressed resentments, all poured out of me in a torrent of long overdue truth. I talked about the birthday presents, the grades, the broken lamps, the endless excuses, the unwavering support, the constant catering to Ethan's every whim. I talked about how I'd always been expected to be the responsible one, the reliable one, the one who just faded into the background while Ethan took center stage. I talked about my dream job, about how I'd worked my ass off to get it, about how excited I'd been, and about how my parents' immediate response was to demand that I throw it all away to clean up Ethan's latest mess. "And you know what the worst part is?" I said, my voice gaining strength, gaining momentum. "It's not even about the job. It's about the message. The message you've been sending me my entire life. The message that my dreams, my goals, my life, they just don't matter as much as Ethan's." I looked directly at my parents, their faces pale and stricken. "Well, guess what? I'm done. I'm done being second best. I'm done sacrificing my happiness for Ethan. I'm going to take my dream job. I'm going to live my life. And if that makes me selfish in your eyes, then you know what? I'm okay with that." The silence that followed was deafening. You could have heard a turkey baster drop. My parents were speechless, their faces a mixture of shock, anger, and something, almost, shame. Aunt Mildred was gaping like a fish. Uncle Barry looked like he'd swallowed a lemon whole. And Ethan just sat there, staring at his mashed potatoes like they held the secrets of the universe. Then the bomb went off. It started with Aunt Mildred. "Well, I never," she sputtered, her face turning a delightful shade of puce. "Such disrespect, to speak to your parents like that at Thanksgiving." And then Uncle Barry weighed in, his voice booming. "Ungrateful girl, after everything your parents have done for you." And then cousins started chiming in, taking sides, adding fuel to the fire. The polite Thanksgiving dinner devolved into a full-blown family brawl. Accusations flew, tears were shed, voices were raised. It was glorious, gloriously chaotic, gloriously liberating. In the midst of the pandemonium, I just walked away. I grabbed my coat, mumbled a quick, "Happy Thanksgiving, everyone," and slipped out the door, leaving behind the wreckage of my family's carefully constructed facade of familial harmony. Did I feel guilty? Maybe a little. In the back of my mind, a tiny voice whispered, "Family, family, family." But it was quickly drowned out by a louder, stronger voice, my own voice. The voice that was finally speaking its own truth. The fallout was significant. My parents didn't speak to me for months. Ethan predictably played the victim, whining to anyone who would listen about his cruel sister who'd attacked him at Thanksgiving. Aunt Mildred and Uncle Barry sent passive-aggressive Christmas cards dripping with sanctimonious disapproval. But you know what? I didn't care. For the first time in my life, I felt free. Free from the suffocating weight of family expectations. Free from the constant pressure to be second best. Free to be me. My dream job is amazing. The city is everything I hoped for. I'm building a life that is truly, authentically mine. And while my relationship with my family is strained to say the least, I'm okay with that too. Sometimes family implosions are necessary. Sometimes you have to burn it all down to build something new, something stronger, something yours. And honestly, watching the carefully constructed edifice of my family's dysfunction crumble, it was kind of beautiful. In a spectacularly messy, cathartic, and deeply satisfying way. Pass the gravy, anyone? Just kidding, I'm good. I'm finally truly good.